In this video, we'll go over how to install 3CX Click-to-Call, how to integrate 3CX Click-to-Call into an existing website, and review some of the requirements that are necessary in order to use 3CX Click-to-Call. When you order 3CX Click-to-Call, you'll get an installer application and a license key. The install is very straightforward. You basically are just registering the product, so it only takes a moment to install. Registration is really important because first it's required to make your application work, but also it gives us a way of keeping track of who you are, so that if you were to lose your key sometime in the future, we could get you another replacement key. And it also gives us a mechanism for contacting you when there are updates to the application. A little bit about the architecture. 3CX is installed on a Windows server. We recommend that you install it with Internet Information Server. Our application, which we just installed, creates a WCF web service that then can be called from just about any server. So the nice thing about this is that you don't have to run 3CX Click-to-Call on the same server as your 3CX server. So having put in your license key and your registration information, clicking on register will have the installer go out and authenticate your key and authorize 3CX Click-to-Call to work. So what we've just done is we've created a website in IIS, and this website is essentially a web service. And if you take a look, you'll see that in the default install we've bound the web service to port 8080. Now you can change that port to whatever you want, but that's just what we chose for our sample site. When you run the install, it copies over, in addition to the executables, it copies over a sample site that you can use as a reference when trying to integrate Click-to-Call into your website. So if you want, we can just copy this folder and let's put it into the root of IIS. And then we'll configure IIS to utilize this sample site. So you'll see, in addition to 3CX Click-to-Call, in the default website, you'll see that there's the sample folder that we copied over into the root of IIS. Just right mouse click on that and choose Convert to an Application. And one of the things you need to note is that this needs to be ASP.NET version 4 or above. And that's really it. So if you right mouse click on the website and choose Browse, it'll open up a very, very simple website. Let me try that again. We want to do it here. So this is a very simple website. We kept the code as simple as possible so that you wouldn't have to sift through a lot of code to figure out what is exactly required in order for this to work. Now the background of how 3CX Click-to-Call is that your customer comes to your website, they put in their telephone number, and then they click on this icon, or whatever icon you make, or button, or however you choose to invoke the code. And it will instruct 3CX to call whatever numbers in this field and transfer them to a queue or an auto attendant or to an extension, whatever you choose to send it to. So I've set up a test 3CX server, and I've got a couple of soft phones connected to it, and I've set up a queue. And so let's watch it in action. So when I click on this, what's going to happen is you're going to hear the soft phone ring. That's the customer's phone receiving a call from 3CX. Then they'll be immediately transferred to a queue where you'll hear a brief introduction, and then you'll hear one of the members of the queue answering the call, so it'll get transferred to that individual.
Thank you for contacting VoIPToys.com. Your call will be answered by the next available.
Please hold while I transfer your call.
Okay, so that's essentially it. It got transferred to a queue member picked up the call, and now your customer is talking to your customer service representative. So pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the code so that you can see what's required, just the small amount of code that's needed to integrate this into your website. So let's start with looking at the HTML, the ASP.NET stuff. And I'll bring this up in Notepad just because it loads a little bit faster, and the code is so simple that all we're really caring about is this right here. When you click on our image button, but you're going to use whatever you choose to use, but it's going to invoke this code in the code behind. Now you can call the function whatever you want. This is just what we used in the sample site. So that's really the only piece you need there. And then in the code behind, you'll see a reference to the web service that was installed when we ran the installer. We'll see a class that's used to identify the structure of the parameter that's called to that's sent to the make call function. You'll see the extension number that the customer is going to be transferred to, and then the actual function that makes the call. That's it. Very, very little code, very simple to integrate into your website. And then one small addition to your web config file. And this section just further explains how to access that reference to the web service. So all of these pieces of code are in the sample website that we copied over, that are in the install folder when you install the application. So integration is pretty simple, and I hope that this has been a helpful video. Thank you.